get the thing straight once and for all. The policeman isn't there to create disorder. The policeman is there to preserve disorder.
Hi everybody, Sean here with a interim video between episodes of my weird record collection. And here's my wonderful high quality setup right here. This gorgeous state-of-the-art studio here. Oh, with a book in the way. Let's see. This is a copy of Bruce Spizer's book about the Beatles' Let It Be album. I'll just keep that there for now. But I just wanted to show off some of my pickups from my recent trip to London, specifically the 7-inch records. I posted about these on some social networks, but really most of them don't give me the opportunity to tell the stories because they only allow you so many characters. God, look at this. You're looking at all this blank space. I'll put my fingers here. And there you go. In case you didn't know, I'm white. But when Lisa and I were in London, we had a fantastic time. If you've never been to London, if you don't live in London, I cannot say just how great it was. It was our second trip. Loved it both times. Everybody was so nice to us there. But we went record shopping. We went to several record stores. Unfortunately, really only bought from a few different places. So I just wanted to go over what we did find. Starting with this record, I think this record was found in the what's it called? Vintage Market, Brick Lane. I think that's what it was called. And there is a vendor who goes by the business name of Vintage Vinyl. And Lisa was flipping through some singles. Now, the records aren't in any particular order in this place. So you actually have to go one by one to find stuff, which actually can be pretty cool. But I saw that Lisa was going through some singles, and I saw this. They're Coming to Take Me Away, Ha Ha, by Napoleon XIV. This is a very popular novelty record, I think from 1965. It's definitely not from any later. And Napoleon XIV was a radio DJ named Jerry Samuels, who spent some time in a mental institution, and it influenced a lot of his novelty records, including an entire album full of this stuff. And They're Coming to Take Me Away, Ha Ha, very famous. It's free verse in iambic form, set to kind of a shuffly rhythm in a way. Remember when you ran away, etc., etc. And I said to Lisa, flip that over. Let me see the B-side because I am curious as if it's what I've been looking for years. So she did. Aha. See how that's printed backwards? It's printed in mirror image. When you play it back, it's actually the track backwards too. And I figured, wow, I finally found one of these records, and it's a British copy with a little punch-out thingy. I forgot what they call those things. And it's still intact and everything. I said, yeah, that's coming home with us. So, yay, I have that. And it plays back really nicely. I think I got that from the Vintage Vinyl place. I know that I got this next one also from the Vintage place. I told Lisa that I was looking for Billy Preston's album, That's the Way God Planned It. I've been looking for it all over. I can't find it on vinyl anywhere. But Lisa found this also at Vintage Vinyl as kind of a consolation. That's the Way God Planned It, the song, which is a wonderful song if you've never heard it, by Billy Preston. It's on the Apple label. It's one of the Apple's earlier records. Let's see who produced this thing. George Harrison produced it. In fact, the concert for Bangladesh, Billy did a killer performance of that song there. So I took this as consolation. You might be able to tell from the light here that the record's not in great shape, but I think it's because whoever had this before I did played the living hell out of it. And as one should, this is a fantastic song. I listened to the B-sides too. And this one, What About You? This I like even more than the A-side. I like it even better than That's the Way God Planned It. The only bad thing about it is it's too short. But thought this would be a nice record in the collection. It's obviously a British copy. and it does not have the punchy outy thing. It's just the standard long player size spindle hole. And I think I got this from Vintage Vinyl too. The Beatles hits in EP. One of the nice things about American record collectors visiting England, and I'm assuming other European countries, is it's a good opportunity to stock up on EPs, because in America, yeah, there were EPs back in the day, but not so much. They didn't really take off as much as they did over in Europe. But this one is the Beatles hits. I thought this would have been a reissue because this just looks a little bit too sharp and colorful up here. And it's in fairly decent shape. I thought it was might be from the 70s or 80s. So when I looked it up on Discogs and couldn't find a copy that matched up to this, turns out it's actually a 1963 copy that's in surprisingly good shape for a 1963 version of the Beatles hits. And it's so called because it has their hits, Please Please Me, their first big hit. It went number one on one of the charts on in England, but it wasn't the chart that eventually became the one official chart, which is why it wasn't included on the Beatles one. Love Me Do. Interestingly, the version of Love Me Do on this is the one with Andy White on drums and Ringo Starr on tambourine. And the thing about that is the version of Love Me Do that actually was a hit that went to number 17 had Ringo Starr playing the drums, but after that single went out, it was decided that from then on, the Andy White version would be the de facto version of Love Me Do. So the masters and session tapes for the original Ringo version of Love Me Do were destroyed to ensure that any version of Love Me Do released after that would only be the Andy White version. And of course, what's happened since? Well, you now can get the Ringo Starr version of it on Past Masters, Mono Masters, and a few other releases. They had to master it from a record, though, because the original tapes didn't exist. Flip it over, we have From Me to You and Thank You Girl, which were actually the A and B side to another huge hit in England. Unfortunately, I don't have the picture sleeve for this. I believe this was their second EP, but it was supposed to be their first EP until there was demand for the Beatles version of Twist and Shout. And the thing about that is people heard it, they loved it, but it wasn't out as a single. You had to buy the Please Please Me album to get Twist and Shout, but people who didn't want to spend that kind of money or didn't have album money, the only option for them was to get the Isley Brothers version. Keeping that in mind, Brian Poole and the Tremolos, whom Decca signed instead of the Beatles in 1962, they recorded a version of Twist and Shout similar to the Beatles version and rushed it out as a single. So what happened? The Beatles rushed out an EP that featured Twist and Shout on it, and both the EP and the Please Please Me album outsold Brian Poole and the Tremolos version of Twist and Shout. So yeah, fun stuff. And moving on, this, I want to say in fact, I'm about 100% sure, almost 100% sure that this single came from, actually, I can show you exactly where because I have the shopping bag with me right here. Let's see, it's called Music and Goods Exchange, sometimes referred to as Music and Video Exchange. We went to the Greenwich location, in Greenwich, and Lisa found this, Cotton Fields by the Beach Boys, backed with The Nearest Faraway Place. Lisa said, we need a copy of Cotton Fields that was released in a country where it was actually a hit. The thing about that, the Beach Boys released Cotton Fields on Capitol Records in 1970. Problem was, the Beach Boys at the time had left Capitol Records. This was essentially their contract obligation single. They left Capitol Records because they weren't happy with Capitol. Capitol wasn't promoting them very well. They were promoting greatest hits albums over their studio albums, and the Beach Boys had sued Capitol Records for back royalties because their accounting people found that Capitol was screwing them out of royalties. Capitol said, well, yeah, here's why we weren't paying you royalties on there. It's this breakage clause in your contract that says records that end up broken during shipment, we don't have to pay for. Problem was, vinyl records do not break. Vinyl records don't break. In fact, let me show you. Actually, no, I'm not going to show you right now. But I do have a video somewhere of me literally trying to destroy a copy of In the Year 2525. Damn thing wouldn't break. Vinyl records don't break. So, of course, the Beach Boys were like, yeah, no. So they release Cotton Fields for the contractual obligation. What happens? Capitol doesn't promote it at all. Would you promote it if your band is walking out on you for another label and suing you? No, of course not. But in just about everywhere else in the world, the single was a huge hit, including England. And in fact, I think this was the last release that was on Capitol in England. Even though the Beach Boys did not renew their contract in America, for whatever reason, their contract with Capitol still went on for 2 more years. So their next 2 records were on EMI's stateside label, stateside being American artists released on Capitol. So with this, you have the Al Jardine produced Cotton Fields, backed with Bruce Johnston's instrumental, The Nearest Faraway Place. It's a mono mix. I think it's a fold down. Whatever it is, it does not play back well on this record. There's a lot of tape hiss on it, so there must have been some generational loss going on. And let's see, the last 7-inch I have to show you is this EP by the Beach Boys, which features Mona, Rock and Roll Music, Sail on Sailor, and Marcella. And it appears to be basically just a sampler of their Warner Brothers output from 1972 through 1977. I don't know why Mona is on this thing. It wasn't a single. The only single they released from the Beach Boys' Love You was Honkin' Down the Highway, backed with Solar System. Second on the record, Rock and Roll Music, which was a number 5 hit, at least here in the States it was. I don't know how well it did in the UK. Interestingly, they used the album version on this EP. The album version has much more overdubs than the single version does. Flip this thing over. You have Sail on Sailor, great killer Beach Boys tune. And Marcella, also a killer, amazing Beach Boys track. Unfortunately, at least on my copy of the record, this side does not play back very well. There's a lot of wow and flutter on it. I don't think the record's pretty flat. It doesn't look like it's warped. But I did notice when playing it that the tone arm or the stylus was going back and forth a lot. So I'm guessing that this side of the record was not pressed center. It's off center, which gives you some kind of warbly playback. It's not pretty good. It's not very good at all, but this side plays back okay. It's a little bit rustly and things, but hey, it plays back fine. But anyway, these are the 7-inch singles that I bought in London. This was also at Music and Goods Exchange in Greenwich. But I will be back again with albums that I bought in London. Thanks for watching.